The press service of the government of Russia, citing data of the Ministry of Defense, stated today that the situation in the Chechen Republic remains tense in nature. Unlawful militarized groups were concentrating their basic efforts on keeping their hold on southeastern areas of Grozny. There were constant attempts to blockade Russian forces in the regions that they have occupied and to squeeze them out into new areas. Because of the heavy casualties among Dudayev gunmen at the prime confrontation sites, people without combat experience are being drawn into battle, it says in the statement of the press service. Our correspondent Grigory Brinza just reported from Grozny. For now, it's early to say that the capital of Chechnya will be taken finally in the near future. Moving toward the city are convoys of Russian combat technology. At night, the regions controlled by Jahar Dudayev supporters are fired at from heavy artillery and rapid firing installations. During the day, storming aviation joins them. The remaining peaceful population in the city, and according to the military estimates, not more than 40,000 people, gather near the canning factory where the headquarters of the military operation is situated and the government of national rebirth. However, there is no absolute safety even here. At times, it happens that snipers' bullets fly into this area. The northern part of the city is practically under the control of the Ministry of Defense forces. You see that residents are walking about the city, and at night, if you risk going out through the city, you'll see lights burning in the windows. The city is coming back to life gradually. Here to the canning factory, convoys of the Ministry of Emergency Situations deliver humanitarian aid, inventorization and distribution of which is under the strictest control of the employees of the Territorial Department of the Ministry of Emergency Situations of Russia and Chechnya. There are no cases of theft or rerouting humanitarian aid for other purposes. Today in Grozny, it's not so much the Dudayev gunmen who are so dangerous for us, but as the entire closely knit groups of looters. They are international groups, and as all thieves, they don't depend, or typically are not all Chechens, Russians, or Ingushetians. The main thing is that people have a desire to work and to start to live normally. I think in the near future we will manage to resettle people into homes, and the spark of life will be kindled. The Ministry of Routes and Communications of Russia is prepared to immediately begin restoration of transit railway communications through the territory of Chechnya to Dagestan and other Transcaucasus republics. Traveling immediately behind railway forces on the Chechen stretch of the Northern Caucasus track were the teams of the Ministry of Routes and Communications of Russia, strictly civilian people. In general, alongside the railway, the industry of the Republic is beginning to be revived. What are you delivering to this area? As of today, more than 200 tons of cargo of food, that is flour, grain, sugar, canned goods, etc. There is a large quantity of various construction equipment, vehicles, cranes, bulldozers, water purification systems, trucks for the delivery of water, heating, oil aggregates, and more than 300 brands of various technology to be used for the restoration of the industry and the economy of the Republic. The session of the regular 12th government staff on the economy of Chechnya, Alexis Kovets, began with summarizing results. The government has prepared and ratified a plan to restore the social and economic life of the Republic. They've adopted 50 resolutions. All the ministries involved in the restorational work dispatched their representatives to the area. And from the federal budget, 500 billion rubles was allotted and 300 billion in the form of state government investments. They've repaired 250 kilometers of railway track. Homes are being constructed for the elderly and handicapped. Ministry of Healthcare, from its own budget, has sent 30 billion rubles for the construction of a hospital, medical preparations and apparatus. A mechanism was also set up to deliver humanitarian aid. Alexis Kovets emphasized that the authorities are attempting to involve the local population in all these activities. Today in Moscow, it was officially stated that currently engaged on the territory of Chechnya are 15,500 troops of the United Group of the Federal Forces. At the same time, the National Guard of Dudayev at first had numbered around 10,000, and at the beginning of combat, the number of gunmen grew to 15,000. Apart from that, 30 to 40,000 people of the population were recruited into the armed insurrection. These figures, quoted by the Colonel General Anatoly Kulikov, are reported today by Tartar Donbass, and if it is so, then it's understandable why the war is being protracted. Because for a successful aggressive operation in contemporary conditions, at least a minimum of a 10-time advantage is needed in live forces and technology. Today at the press conference, the commander of the internal forces of Russia, the head of the United Command of the Group of Forces in Chechnya, Lynьков, stated that after the 20th of January in Chechen, events qualitative changes occurred, a breakthrough is evident. Its essence is that the army, in fact, has fulfilled its basic mission. It has destroyed the basic group of the armed forces of Dudayev and put the heavy technology out of commission, destroyed its system of operation. Anatoly Kulikov presumed that in 2 or 3 weeks federal forces will be in complete control of Grozny. This will greatly affect the entire situation because today many Chechens are in a waiting mode. The old people come themselves and say, believe us, as soon as you resolve the problem with Grozny, we will come personally and lay down our weapons on your table. And the same situation exists in Gudermes. Everything will depend on how successfully the formation of the structures of power will go in Grozny and how effective it will be in Grozny. Kulikov stated that the federal forces currently are preparing for the fact that gunmen sooner or later will flee to the mountains, but in their opinion, Dudayev will not be able to incite massive partisan war because the population doesn't want it, although terrorist acts and onslaughts will continue for a very long time. Today, the commander of the aviation of the land forces of Russia, Vitaly Pavlov, also met with the press. We did not only not use aviation bombs, but didn't even suspend them in their positions once. This was what the Colonel General Vitaly Pavlov said, speaking about the actions of his subordinates in Chechnya. Within the axis of the aviation of the land forces of Russia, there are only helicopters, around 2,000 of them. There are no airplanes at all. Currently, in Chechnya, there are 48 combat vehicles. During the period of the combat, land aviation has lost 4 helicopters and 9 officers died. For us, of greatest significance and of greatest danger is the fact that we're working basically in conditions of low altitudes, and they are the anti-aircraft guns used by Dudayev formations. Constant fogs extremely complicate the life of helicopter pilots, but despite the difficult meteorological conditions, Vitaly Pavlov said, the helicopters do fly, transport paratroopers, evacuate the injured, and annihilate firing points of the Dudayev supporters. Of course, the Dudayev formations have no effective or reasonable method of action. The former vice president of Russia, Alexander Rudskoy, was heard today by a commission of the State Duma investigating the reasons and circumstances which led to the crisis in the Chechen Republic. After the meeting, he said to the agency post factum that already documents were publicized with Shaposhnikov's signature where he allowed the sale to Dudayev at residual cost of weapons and property of the Trans-Baikal military district, whose troops were withdrawn from Mongolia. At the same time, the sources in the commission stated that the Commission does not have documents that were mentioned by Rudskoy. Questions connected with regularizing the Chechen conflict were discussed today in the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The results of the meeting, which involved the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Andrei Kozyrov, the Ambassador of the Kingdom Morocco, Zeminet, and the Chairman of the spiritual body of the Muslims of Central European Russia, Mufti Gaynudinov, a proposal surfaced to immediately declare a truce in the conflict on the occasion of the Muslim holy month Ramadan. This proposal, expressed by the Mufti Gaynudinov, found support in the Islamic world, which was confirmed by the Moroccan ambassador, the representative of a country which is the chairman of the Organization of the Islamic Conference. In the Islamic world, he assured Andrei Kozyrov they're interested in developing multilateral partnership relations with a unified, stable Russia. Hence, we are sure that its leadership will find a wise resolution to the Chechen problem, not, of course, rejecting the advice of prominent religious leaders. We feel, of course, that it would be feasible to declare a moratorium, at least during the holy month Ramadan, on all combat operations, in order to find an opportunity to sit at the dialogue tables. I'm not saying specifically with supporters of Dudayev. There are influential individuals on the territory of Chechnya. One could meet with the Elders' Council or with the clergy, or we could choose trusted or proxy representatives from every village or town and hold dialogues with them. Although the political conflict in Chechnya is an internal problem of Russia, means which the Central Power resorted to for its resolution violate international obligations undertaken by Moscow. This is the interpretation of the situation around Chechnya in the draft resolution submitted for examination today at the session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the European Council. The special meeting dedicated to the examination of the situation in Chechnya and the candidacy of Russia in entering the European Council is underway at the session of the Parliamentary Assembly of that organization in Strasbourg, France. In the capacity of special guests, the status provided to Russia are delegations of both chambers of the Russian Parliament. They were given an opportunity to speak at the session in discussions dealing with the issue prior to its delegates adopting a resolution on it. In its draft, which was initially discussed in commissions, corrections were already made and formulations changed, which lent to the document a more balanced, constructive nature. Together with the sober approach of the members of the Commission, a respected role was played here by Russian parliamentarians. Some of their corrections were embodied in the resolution. Specifically, the procedure of Russia's entry in view of the Chechen events is suspended and not frozen, as initially was worded. The right to resume at any moment the examination of Russia's demand as soon as the military process stops and Chechnyan dialogue process begins goes to the Assembly of the European Council and not to its session. Although discussion still continues, but members of the delegation of European parliaments are of the mood to support democratic transformations in Russia and do not reject the Russian demand. And even there is a paradox of opinion that if the Russian notice had been examined last year for membership, in this case, possibly this sad Chechen crisis would not have occurred. The corrections submitted by several foreign parliamentarians were declined to carry the Chechen conflict from the political sphere between the Dudayev regime and the federal power into an ethnic context, in a striving to harshen the European Council's position vis-à-vis Russia. During these moments, while the Euronews program is being broadcast, the Strasbourg session has not yet finished.